Welcome back to Boiler House Garage and another visit to Abingdon in Oxfordshire, where today we're going to be testing both of Esso's offerings with their 95 octane so-called E10 and their so-called E5 Synergy Supreme 99 Plus. I really must get this manta finished so I can reverse it out of here anytime I'm doing a new video. Right, so as well as these two fuel samples that I'll be testing in today's video, making it a little bit longer than normal, I also have quite a lot to cover first thing. So if basically you just want to see the tests being done or the skip straight to the test results, I have added timestamps, which you can either go to the video description and click the particular timestamp for the bit you want to go to, or it should be showing in the play bar along the bottom. They call them chapters or whatever it is to get to the relevant point you might want to see. Basically the last video, it went absolutely parabolic. I've got, well, for this channel anyway, I basically doubled the subscriber count, and it has 90,000 views I think currently. That was the Tesco Momentum fuel test where basically, yeah, we looked at it to be over 99 octane and not contain ethanol. Of course, if you want to see that video being done and you haven't seen it yet, yeah, please check it out with any of my previous work. I do have to obviously say, yeah, massive thank you to all the people who've been subscribed since the earlier parts, and all the new subscribers as well, of course, because there's now more of you than there were originally. And a super thanks to Odysseus, who's my first channel member, because YouTube, once you've basically reached a certain subscriber count and had a particular number of watch hours in a year, you get the option for having channel memberships, which is where you can actually support the channel each month. And I do have a 99p a month starting membership, so if you did like what I was doing here and wanted to contribute to the channel at all, yeah, membership would be absolutely appreciated, especially as yeah, I certainly don't get any revenue from the AdSense as yet, so I'm sure they show plenty of adverts on the videos, but I think you get to a certain accrued amount of money or something through adverts and channel memberships, and then YouTube look to pay you from that point onwards. And anything I do get from eventually ad revenue, hopefully, and the memberships will be directly invested back into the channel, so which means I could travel a bit further afield to garages or brands, I should say, that we haven't tested yet, and to see something I'm interested in finding out actually is where the boundaries are. It's probably a soft boundary anyway, where we've had a sample sent in from North Wales before, which it was the same as this actually. It was a Synergy Supreme 99, but it did contain ethanol. And then from what part of from the north and Devon, and well, it'll be at some point in Devon where you start to exit the maximum sort of travelling radius or area of the main distribution. So you can't get the ethanol free fuel in those areas, or can you? Maybe there's one or two garages where you or brands where you can actually get fuel without ethanol in it, but without being able to physically go there myself or have a sample sent in, then you won't really know. But as time goes on, obviously the more data we can get, or of course things can change. They can suddenly put ethanol in the fuel in the areas I'm in the south of England and Wales. So eventually, yeah, we'll be a bit stumped anyway. So that was the initial idea. It was just seeing how long we're still able to get ethanol-free super unleaded at the pumps for. And of course, I have developed it a bit from there, because looking at the same thing, it's nice to actually just see how much ethanol is in the more basic E10s now and again, which is what we're doing today. Something fairly important I do need to just mention quickly, because I'll be doing a full video revisiting this basically, is the method I use, this pour through water. You pour it through the petrol in this cylinder. Now I have done control tests before, so a lot of people will, because there's new viewers to the channel, some of them are a bit nasty about it. One exception who actually bothered to show his findings and actually uploaded a video of that, which again I'll be covering in the next one. And yeah, they said that the ethanol won't separate unless you vigorously shake the sample, but I've disproven that before. But of course that was with an ethanol sample that appeared to be 5%, but what I did is I put it into a jar where I'd marked the line of water, added the petrol, shook it up, and let it settle, shook it up again, let it settle, left it a few minutes, which is why I only leave it like 5 minutes now, because the time wasn't making any difference. But I left it an hour, I left it the whole night, I left it the weekend, didn't make any difference at all. I've shown results before of the ethanol blended petrols and using the pour-free method, and immediately you see the froth of the line already higher than what the water level will be, and letting it settle after 5 minutes, that line doesn't change ever after that. It doesn't matter if I shake it, it doesn't matter if I stir it, leaving it for ages. The line doesn't change, even though the cloudiness in the petrol does. But the octane tester I have as well, that will show basically an error. It just shows its maximum reading if there's any ethanol present in the petrol. So where I'm showing that, if there was ethanol present and it's something I've missed, then it's going to let me know by showing a high reading. So that's not quite the case. And the chap who did demonstrate what he showed was where he's poured water into a measuring cylinder, and the line appeared at what we think was 0 ethanol, and just left it for a little while. And then what he's done is he's shaken it by turning he's turning this upside down 4 times like this to mix it through, and you can see it all mixed together nicely, and he's letting that settle over half an hour, I think it was, and then the line did actually raise. So it's like, well, okay, this does look like he's got, there are a couple of things I'm questioning on it already, but we'll cover that in the next video. And so it did set off a slight alarm bell, or is there something I missed? Because I do have to consider the fact I could be wrong about something. So I did retest the momentum sample to see if I have messed something up, and use this shake-up method. And that's something I have demonstrated before, even with what I assumed to be E0 from previous tests. I did simpler tests while I was out on the road by just basically getting a glass jar, and you fill it with about a quarter to a third of the way up with water, and then on a level surface you'd mark this line with a Sharpie, and then pour your petrol in, and then obviously you can shake it up, and like you saw earlier, that the line still remained at the same level, which means there's no ethanol in it at all. And this has been left for days. It's been mixed several times, and yeah, the line staying level. There is no ethanol in this, so that obviously begs the question why that guy did show a raise in the line in his fuel, because he's in the Beaconsfield area, which is actually between areas where sort of south of London and the M4 sort of corridor, and where I am in Oxfordshire. I've taken Esso samples dotted about. I think it's been the most tested fuel. Because of the error we had with it showing 93 octane at one point. One suggestion I was given, that you need to get yourself a cylinder measuring. I said, a cylinder measuring? Don't you mean a measuring cylinder? I've got one. They said, no, this is a cylinder measuring. This is much better than a measuring cylinder. It's a cylinder measuring. You need to get one. So I thought, well, I'm convinced, so I bit the bullet, and here we go. I have a cylinder measuring. So this is far better than this cheap plastic measuring cylinder I've got here. So we'll take a quick look at this. They come with a calibration certificate to just show somehow it's calibrated to hold the amount it's suggested to. It's a glass one, and I'm hoping that the petrol, like this one, doesn't take off the printed lines. Check it out. I think it's marginally narrower and therefore a little bit taller, because the 100mm line's here to here. So yeah, that would make mixing even more efficient, because when I was testing this pour-through method, where you pour water through it quickly when the petrol's already there, that will mean that the petrol is making full contact with the water that's going in. That we're redoing the control test soon, so you'll know for certain. Right, so which one shall we start with? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's just do the E10, because it's nice to see some ethanol samples, just to see how they change, and it makes it easier for new viewers to actually understand how I'm testing for it, and if the super unleaded sample is truly ethanol free. So let's go on with it. So for my ease of editing, this is the Esso E10 95 octane petrol, and I'm going to be adding 300 millilitres of water to 700 millilitres of test petrol. If the line remains at 300, it would be ethanol free, but by regulation, E10 petrol has to contain at least, well, it's 5.5% is the current thing. I only do it, I try and round up or down if I can see it on the line, but because it's in milliliter increments, it's a little bit harder to judge. It's anywhere between 5.5 and 10%, so where is it? Let's find out. Right, so 5 minutes has passed, and the line, although there is something slightly different about this sample or this test. Let's see if I can get it in shot properly. Yeah, a lot of this, a lot of the cloud has sort of remained. Which is different than before. The line is still at 335 millilitres, which, as we've seen every time before, that works out to be 5%. And obviously, like I said earlier, the regulation is it's 5.5% is the minimum, but I can't tell if it's a 0.5% from 1 milliliter increments. But this fogginess, and that I could leave this a little while, or what I did think of doing is, because I do have the old measuring cylinder, is I could pour this mix between the two a few times to mix it up. The problem is if I've got no cap that I can shake the that I could use to actually shake the measuring cylinder. So if you can just see it there, because it's a fluted top and it's got a little pouring spout on it. If I put my hand over the top, the fuel vapor will actually pressurise and that, and blow a load, push my hand away and squirt a load of fuel out the side. So I think it might pay, at least for now. Again, I'll be experimenting this on the next video, revisiting the control tests, so you can see what the differences are between using different containers and mixing them in different ways. So yeah, I'll pour this one through a few times, see if it will settle, and then if the lines changed at all, which I don't think it will, but let's find out for sure. Yeah, so even trying to be careful, I've got a little bit of a spill, so that's going to slightly affect what we see next, but yeah, we should still be able to tell something. So straight away we've got it's harder to see on this old cylinder, but there's the 300mm line, 310, 320, 330, and we're very close actually to 340 where the froth is, but that should settle obviously slightly below, but it's 5.5%. Right, so that's going to be the last pour through, but I have probably made a bit of a boob here. The spillage, for starters, has meant possibly a little bit of evaporation as well, I'm not sure, but we're quite a bit down on the petrol here, so yeah, that's obviously, yeah, it's going to make the results inaccurate anyway, but let's just check out the separation line between the water and ethanol mix with the petrol. Oh yeah, that was another thing that I think I've messed up on, is you'll notice that the line has risen, but the cylinder here, well, the other one, because there was a few bugs and bits in it, I actually rinsed it out, and then because you can see a lot of the condensation, if you call it, or a few water droplets are still stuck to the bottle. I think I've inadvertently added a bit of water to it, so yeah, so it's going to be a little open to interpretation, this one. But the line's now on about yeah, so I mean, it's quite possible that yeah, so it's on, yeah, it's on 350, so that's given us an extra 1.5 mil of water, but of course that could have been stuck in this other container. So yeah, whether I include this in the full video or not, I'm not sure, because it is a bit of a like I say, it was just a way of experimenting, of mixing to see if I can get any more out of it. Now it does look like I can get some more out of it, but of course I've lost some of the sample, and of course added some water inadvertently from the other cylinder. So I mean, this has pretty much validated the test here, but it's something to look at, and of course as part of the learning process as well, I know to make sure that next time I try and mix anything to use a completely dry cylinder, even if it means having to wait a bit longer to finish the test. 350 millilitres would equate to about E7, possibly E8, depending on which side of the line it's on, but because that's irrelevant, it isn't E7 or 8, this particular one, because of the inaccuracies I've done with this messing around. But the important thing is, though, I'll try the same thing with the E5, the Super Unleaded 99, and just make sure that this measuring cylinder, the older one here, is actually going to be dry before I'm doing the swap arounds. Oh, okay, that's quite a drop actually. Yes, just to clarify, this has had the this is the Esso E10 that's had the 5.5% ethanol removed from it. Haven't left it like particularly long, like over a weekend at all, which is why the mix is slightly foggy here. Although I have noticed in the new test tube it did actually appear a bit clearer, so I'm not sure if the containers and that make any difference there. But can we look at that as 1 RON per percentage of ethanol added to the petrol then? It's a little difficult to judge really, because of the previous tests we've done. I can't even remember if I've done an octane test on the E5s before, sorry, the E10s from Shell and Esso before, because I tried to primarily stick to the Super Unleadeds and that, just to be the our fuel of choice. But I didn't get this octane tester until a lot later in the series, so I'm going to have to look back at the previous results we've had. But yeah, for a 6% drop, and then if we just round up then the 5.5 to 6% ethanol in the E10 petrol, then yeah, that could be a basis to go on. But next time I nip down Shell, and obviously I'll have to try their Shell fuel save again. I say again because I've tested that for ethanol before, but I can't recall doing a octane test on the fuel with the ethanol removed. And just to clarify, if this is the first time you are watching this, and ethanol, it will act as an octane. It is an octane booster if once it's blended with petrol. Obviously, other components of petrol also give it its octane level as well. So it doesn't mean that by having less ethanol in the fuel when you're buying it as a complete formula, you're buying a 99 RON Super Unleaded, but it's got 2.5–3% ethanol in there. It doesn't mean that obviously if you're buying the E0 version it's got less in there, although we did actually find that once with the Esso Synergy 99 before, where it was reading 93, because I had my own theory on that. But obviously please check out the previous videos on those, because I obviously keep harping on about it. Now for the next one. So again, for my ease of editing, this is the Esso Synergy Supreme 99 plus sample, and the test will be as before, but this is the one that matters. Is it ethanol free? So we do have a lot more going on than usual, but that just might be the new test tube. Perhaps it's it's a lot easier to see through, and what's happening in this one was last one it was barely transparent. You have to call it opaque really. Let's put that there as a comparison. You see it's harder to see the mixing or the reaction. Well, we're at 300 so far. I'll do the usual thing then of a 5-minute wait, and then we'll try that impromptu mixing, which this is sort of an unofficial control test, as it were, for this video. But in the next one, yeah, we'll do them properly. Right, so we're back after 5 minutes. It's the usual sort of test procedure, and let's just compare how it was to the E10 sample before. Just to note that when I will be doing this, I did get a towel and stuff that down there to dry this out, so hopefully that shouldn't give us any funny business on the level here. But let's start with what we got. So the line here is at 300 millilitres, just doing our standard, like I say, pour-free method, 5-minute wait. There's some like bubbling in here. There's nothing really going on with the petrol, so obviously if there's anything still in here, then we'll be seeing some action sort of between here and in the petrol of ethanol going into the water. But there are bubbles here, so anything that is reacting with the water is obviously still in the water. But like I say, this stuff was probably all happening before. It's just that we couldn't see it properly with this more opaque cylinder here. So yeah, it was worth getting the cylinder measuring, as it was called. I mean, you could argue that this line is, I don't know if we can see it on here. Let's get the light on. Is it zoomed? Nope. I mean, it's marginally under the 300 ml line, but of course this is a calibrated measuring cylinder, and my little water jug here that isn't, so that could be expected. Yeah, but of course when I did the mixing up last time, then yeah, I did lose a little bit of the petrol, but we are starting with the full volume again. Right, be more careful. Sometimes I have to pour it quite fast, because that was the idea of this pour-free method, that the weight of the water and how quickly it was going in is part of the mixing process. Oh. I didn't spill any that time, and it's actually at the 1 litre mark. Yeah, and that's don't know how well it shows up here, but where the water line was tight, just marginally below the 300 milliliter line on the new cylinder, it's actually ever so slightly above. Like it's not a full milliliter, but I can see the line here is just above that blue line. But of course I always went by the embossed ones, because I think the embossed ones are probably, and that is ever so slightly below. So yeah, the printed ones on the other side I haven't used for ages, because not only is it all wearing off with the petrol contacting it anyway, I think where they print it isn't accurate enough, but where it's embossed in this is a little bit more accurate. So okay, that's a good sign then. Right, we'll do this mix a few more times, and let's see if this line has risen then, if my 5-minute pour-free method is bunk. As careful as I'm being so far, I've wobbled it now, but as careful as I'm being so far, I've lost a mil already of the petrol. So if I do end up doing some sort of mixing, shaking procedure, it does need to be in a sealed container. Right, and for the final pour, right, so I'll probably let that settle for a good half hour to an hour perhaps, but yeah, again, there was loads of vapour coming off as I was pouring it. Yeah, God knows what's stuck in there, but yeah, we're nearly 2 mil down now, so this isn't going to be a very effective way of doing it, but it's just to see if we are getting significant movement through doing some mixing or agitating of the stuff. But yeah, we'll come back in about, I don't know, let's say half hour to an hour while we're being sporadic, and I might just do a final testing where it's one way you can sort of do yourself without measuring stuff with more simple stuff, or try it with this line on a glass jar like I've done in the past. So we'll see you in about an hour. Right, and we're back after a sausage roll. Now there is actually something strange happening here, and so I'll try and show you. I think this is going to mean that jar test is going to be essential for this video, so let's zoom in, get the light on. Is it coming across? I'm not sure how well that's coming across, but the separation line has actually risen ever so slightly to 310, which doesn't make any sense at all, because obviously, so mathematically E1 or 1% ethanol would be 307 in this test, because there's 700 millilitres of the test petrol. So yeah, slightly higher than that. Yeah, E2 would be, if my maths says we've got 2 sevens of 14, so yeah, 314 mil would be E2, but I don't think that's the case at all. I think the problem is, because if we look at the top again, look, I've actually lost some volume here and gained some a tiny bit of water volume. Now there is something obviously about England today. It's actually very hot, but I'll just show you on this phone. Oh, zoom out a bit. How do I do this? Oh, bloody thing. There we go. Turn off the light. There we go. So it is actually raining today. So is it possible that it's actually taken a little bit of the humidity out of the air, or what? Because it's just such a tiny increment, but we can obviously eliminate that. I'll get this glass completely bone dry. This can be properly shaken. It's airtight as well, so there won't be any. Yeah, I'll obviously have to leave space for the vapor pressure, and that the cap will actually like bulge in and out as it's happening. And when it settles, it comes back in again. But it just means that we're getting no external influence from any damp or water contamination from anywhere. Because I just want to make sure that for 100% that this fuel sample here is actually zero ethanol, it's ethanol free. Because I mean, it doesn't make sense to make it an E1 or E1.5 or whatever, but yeah, who knows what's going on here. But this might actually help with me being able to explain. The chap who Mark, his name was, who sent me a little video of him repeating an experiment with a few fuels in his area. So this might actually show that we might actually have to have a sealed container or something to stop whatever's basically coming into this water here to add any more. But or there is a chance this could be, I don't know, E1.5 or something, but I really can't see it. So we'll do this test next. I do have to still do the octane test, so which one should I do first? I'll probably have to do the octane test first in this jar, because I want to obviously keep shaking and leaving, just so it's going to take quite a while, just to make sure that this line where the water level will not move. What did we have last time? Was it 100 and 102? I can't remember now. Oh, so if it's a little drop this time. Oh, 101 then. It does say in the instructions, in fairness, to ignore the first couple of readings. Well, it's staying at 101 now, so Yep, and again in the instructions it says it can be a couple of RON out, and I have noticed that it tends to be more accurate at the lower readings when I've tested like the 97 RON super unleaded. They've all shown, this is different brands, they've all shown to be 98. So these higher octane ones, the 99 pluses, they do seem to vary a lot more. But of course, that, like I say, it might be down to it's not fair to call it inaccuracy, but the buffer then that the tester has to give of being 2 RON out at that, which would mean, yeah, obviously it's advertised as 99 plus 101. If it's the most out, then of course it would still be 99 as a minimum. Right, now something that obviously if there was ethanol present in this petrol, this tester will show 110. It just gives its maximum reading because it can't read the octane of ethanol. That's not what it's calibrated for petrol, not alcohol. So just as an example, I have done this in the past, but again it's not an official test. But let me just grab the E10 Esso sample that we've just tested. Right, so like I say, this is quite a crude test, so it's not following the instructions are supposed to be, but it's just to give you an example. Look, so if I put the tester in here, we know it's got ethanol in it, we've just tested it. The octane test I did was with it extracted, and it shows 110, which is the maximum reading, whether AKI or RON, this reader gives. So ethanol affects the sensors in here, the resistors, so that's why it shows 110. If it did that, good indication, or in any petrol, if it is showing 110, none of the fuels that are available at the pumps here are 110 octane. So it is basically telling you that it's got ethanol in there, it just won't tell you how much. But in any case, what I will do is I'm going to just do this test just to make sure. I mean, there is a possibility that a tiniest amount of ethanol perhaps can get into some of the super unleaded samples. I really don't know. This is sort of part of what we're doing here, is just to give ourselves a bit more of an indication of what we're actually putting in our tanks. Yeah, this jar test, I'll fill this basically up to the water up to this line here. This is one you can do yourself quite easily at home, just to see if your local your fuel of choice then from your local garage got any ethanol in it. It's a much more simple test than using the measuring cylinders, and we'll do that now just to see if we do get any raise in this water level, separation level, after vigorous shaking, which is what some people insist that needs to be done, even though I have demonstrated otherwise in the past. Right, I've done this the other way round to what I have suggested in earlier videos, because what you'd normally do is just put in, say, a quarter to a third of the volume of the jar of water, and then mark the line with a Sharpie. But because I already did a test just to make sure that Tesco Momentum sample I tested last time was truly ethanol free like I claimed, so I've just refilled this up to the where that I'll tip it just so you can see, but where that Sharpie line is, you see that's where the water level is. Once I add the petrol, again I'll do that too, probably leaving a quarter to a third of the volume of space just for a bit of vapour expansion as I shake it. We'll let it settle, I'll shake it again, we'll do this a few times and obviously if there is ethanol in there, that good shaking and agitation people claim that it must be done to take the ethanol out of there, then would then be in the water, and plus because it'll actually be sealed. Again, I do have like little drips of water on here, so I mean none of these are perfectly ideal, but yeah, obviously it's not going to make a significant difference that these tiny little drops, but yeah, there won't be any humidity taken out of the air, minimal let's say water droplets then. So if there's a significant raise, we know something's gone wrong somewhere along the lines, and that the petrol, the super unleaded petrol I got here, it does actually have ethanol. But at the moment I'm confident it doesn't. That doesn't mean to say it's not coming or anything like that in the near future. You can probably imagine this place absolutely stinks of petrol vapour now, but right, so I've added this amount then, however much that is, straight from the jerry can into here. The line hasn't changed yet. I think Mark's argument was that my testing method would miss smaller amounts in the super unleaded, so where I'm doing the pour-free method on let's say a higher ethanol content like the E6, E7, E10 samples that I should say 6 or 7% E10 samples that I get, the results are showing more immediately. But when there's smaller amounts of ethanol, or if there's smaller amounts of ethanol in the petrol, that my pour-free method is too, like, I don't know, gentle or something, so that the mixing is needed to detect it. But yeah, so at the moment all I've done, water was in first, petrol's pouring on top, a little bit of bubbling here, but the line's still where it was before. So we'll now seal it. A bit of a shake, have to be gentle, but no, it's not exactly. Yeah, this should pop out a little bit once it starts expanding, but there we go. So let's get the camera down a little. The camera, it's an old phone. Yeah, so you see that's properly all mixed up, and then this the frothiness is gradually lowering, and let's hope it obviously goes to this line here. Might as well leave it on a time lapse. Right, how are we looking then, and have I got enough battery? Right, it's still on the line, so time for another mix. Oh, it's the cap's expanded a bit, but oh Christ! Well, it did make a little pop then, so it might not be exactly super. Oh, it did give a little bit of a. Yeah, there's no like rubber seal in here. It is the seal is just on the actual screw or the thread in the glass. Oh yeah, oh Christ! Oh, that's ruined it, isn't it? Yeah, it's getting a bit typical. Yeah, so I've lost a lot of the mix anyway, so it's not quite. Yeah, it's not as well sealed as I thought. I suppose it is a fake sugar container, isn't it? It's a well sweetener. Oh well, I'll let that one settle again. It's had a couple of good mixes, but unfortunately, yeah, with it shooting a load of the mix out like that, it's not going to exactly be accurate again, is it? But it might just give us an idea. If this line does go above, where did that come from is the question. But what we'll do then is just repeat this with the known ethanol blended sample, and then that way it's just a visual thing for you guys just to see that what happens when there is ethanol present against what happens when there isn't. But like I say, we were and like Mark was suggesting, it might be a case of where there's a tiny amount of ethanol, like let's say 2% or less, in a super unleaded petrol, that I might not be picking it up. My Octane test that can't really be explained actually, but yeah, for whatever reason I'm not picking it up. But it doesn't explain where that's like 1 mil, 1.5 mil extra that I got when I was doing those two pour-through methods, like mixing the two cylinders together. Where did that even though half of the stuff was spilling all over the place and evaporating as well? Why did the line raise ever so slightly? And it also happened on the E5.5 sample. It's picked up some water or something from somewhere, or could it be ethanol? I don't think it is, but yeah, it's we got to keep trying these things. Any legitimate criticism, suggestions, scrutiny, etc., is of course welcomed, and I do have to address it. So yeah, that's what's happening here. And of course, I also can't explain where the 3 centilitres in Mark's experiment come from either. We'll do this in much more detail on a separate video, because I'm sure most people are watching just want to know the results. So of course, it's going to go on for a bit too long otherwise. Right, what's going on here then? Still got a bit of battery left. Yep. Yeah, so the line's still on there. I mean, it has. I mean, could it just be such a trace amount? It's not sort of visible here. I mean, is that a possibility? But at the moment, yeah, it appears that there's no ethanol in there, at least not a significant amount to make it visibly detectable. But of course, that's not really the point here. It's supposed to be, and I don't think that's sort of how they add it. They don't add a splash in that just to be annoying or anything. It's either going to have a certain level in or it isn't. So I've still got this one. It's moved up. So there's the 300 ml line, and it's at 310. So where did that come from? And of course, I lost 2 ml of the petrol mix at the top anyway. But what I'll do is I'll repeat this, the basic jar testing, whatever we call it, with a known ethanol sample, just to show you the difference. So as before, it's water in first up to that water line that I've drawn in Sharpie. Now to add the petrol. It's starting to leak here, but you can see it's all mixed, and that line is that's going a lot quicker actually on this for some reason. I definitely used the E10, didn't I? Yeah. But you can see it's well above already, so well above, but you know what I mean. So it's a much smaller volume than I'm normally testing. Right, how are we looking? So it's above the line, and yeah, I think with these smaller volumes of petrol, obviously the line's not much different, or not much different. Or maybe I should use less water or something next time. Yeah, oh well, we'll give it another shake then, like I did with the other batch. Just make sure that lid's definitely on properly. Nope, we're leaking again. Lovely, good mix. So like the E5, it was a much slower, you notice it was a much slower separation, so this will be the last settle on this, and we'll just see what the sort of final result is there. Right, so we'll have to call it quits there before my battery runs out, but that's the final line on the ethanol blended, the sample that we know is at least 5.5% ethanol, because it's an E10. So it's just to show you a difference really in doing that method, but obviously this is a way to detect ethanol present in your petrol. Is it possible, if there was such a trace amount, that the line wouldn't even rise beyond the line that we've put here? Yeah, possibly, but I mean, can you really see them just putting such a small splash in? It's one of those things really, but it's something I'm going to have to look into. And sorry this video went on a little bit longer than I initially anticipated. If you know me, sometimes I just can't help myself. Once I get an idea in my head to do something, I thought I'll just do some more basic control tests, just to make sure that I am at least can back up what I'm saying with regards to testing the super unleadeds that are ethanol free, at least, even if I'm getting it slightly wrong with an E5 to an E7, it doesn't really matter, because what we're basically aiming for is to find petrol that doesn't have ethanol in it, so we can still use it in classic cars, bikes, two-stroke equipment, and critically also store the fuel for a longer period of time, because once ethanol's in there, it's just a complete nightmare. But I'm glad I mentioned the timestamps at the beginning now, because I can imagine how this video's gone on, that I'd get a bit of negative feedback, let's say, in the comments, for some people saying, "Hey, you waffle on too much," but they've probably got a point. If you're just here just to see the test, then you've got that option there to skip that. Those of you who are like me and find this sort of thing very interesting, yes, then yeah, I might as well go the whole hog with it. Yeah, speaking of the fuel longevity tests, they are in the pipeline. I've still got one more test to do basically, and I need to keep the car's getting overdue for a service, which isn't ideal. But obviously, I can't do that and then do another like 0 to 60 test, for example, so it'll affect the results. So yeah, the results were surprising even to me on the longevity test or shelf life test, whatever we call them. So if you're not subscribed, then please do to see that coming eventually. The next fuel test. I was planning on doing another boiler house garage on the road to the Gloucestershire area, because there's a Total Energies, I think that's my nearest Total Energies garage, which is a fuel I don't like them as a company, but I just want to see, because they harp on about how they make their 100% sustainable, you know, all that BS, racing fuel from grape alcohol or grape sugar, whatever you call it. Or sugar beet, or whatever it's made from in this country. In America, they use their corn lobby that's why they've had it for a lot longer and more of it. And so I want to see if they're putting their own crap in their petrol, and therefore to avoid it really. And also there's Texaco garages in that area. They might actually have the Texaco Performance, what's it called? Supreme Performance 99 Plus, which I haven't been able to test because they've still got the old 97 one around here, so and that had ethanol in it. I've got a few car repair videos as well. I'm not sure if I'll upload that slightly before this one or a little bit after. I basically unseized some brakes on somebody's old Vauxhall Astra, so I thought that might be useful to some people who might want to do that for themselves at home, save them a few quid. And yeah, so that'll either already be uploaded or I'll upload it soon. So thanks ever so much again for everybody who's been subscribed and for your input on the last videos, to Odysseus for being the first channel member, and of course Mark for the legitimate claim there. And that's something we can look into more when I do the control test video, where it's not testing a particular brand, it's just to update these tests to make sure that I'm doing everything okay. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.